Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of the Outlier Podcast. I have a new guest with me, an old friend, mentor, Anand with me. Hi Anand, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Good to have you in the podcast today, Anand. Quick introduction: who is Anand? Anand is the CFO of Citadel Credit Union. He comes with around 25 years of experience working in the ecosystem, specifically in financial services. He's a mechanical engineer by trade, who's got into the banking industry and hasn't left ever, right? So he spent like good amount of years after his grad school at Cap One, Capital One, and then at Discover, and finally, like all of us, fell in love with the credit union ecosystem. And right now, the CFO of Citadel Credit Union, and he loves what he does. So, Anand, I thought of giving a quick 30-second introduction about you. I'm sure I might have, obviously, I haven't done justice to your introduction. If you want to feel free, go ahead and chip in.
Absolutely. I have somewhat of an unusual track record. I started off as a mechanical engineer undergrad, did industrial engineering as grad school, and then Capital One picked me up to work for them. And that was my unusual journey. Um, I spent about 6 years at Capital One, and mostly started off as a data analyst, switched into finance, did capital markets function back office to begin with, and then moved into front office to structure and issue securitization transactions. I was picked up by Discover after that. This was at the depth of the financial crisis in 2008 to open up their securitization program. But after helping them do that, I pivoted into corporate finance and took other responsibilities in financial planning analysis, enterprise risk management, corporate strategy, and etc. And during that time, I also did an MBA from Kellogg at Northwestern. And that was 10 years at Discover, but after that, I was picked up by Citadel Credit Union, and I've been here for 7 years, where I started off in finance and enterprise risk management, and then I pivoted into a few other things here also.
So that sounds like an illustrious career, starting with using data, I mean, doing data analytics for Cap One to finally picking up your role right now at Citadel. That's quite an interesting journey, right? And definitely for a CFO like you, who's like over engaged, I would say, in everything what you do, 24 hours is less. So what usually keeps you going?
That's $1 million question. If you look at my track record, I've only done a given function for about 2 to 3 years, and then I move on. But I've been at Citadel for 7 years, so that is unusual for me too. And that's really because of what it is working like here, the culture, even the mission, the first-hand impact on members. And for all of us who've come from larger organizations into credit unions, this is a very common element, which is because of the smaller footprint and because of the mission of people helping people, I find that there are lots and lots of opportunities to add value to our members on a daily, even hourly basis. If there is an idea that I have, I can have that evaluated and implemented within days. And then the next day, next week, I can see the impact. I can see members' lives being positively impacted. And that really is one huge reason that keeps me going. The other things that contribute, one of them is a huge thing, which is the singularity of stakeholders. What I mean by that is there is no investor who we have to satisfy while doing business with customers. Given the singularity of customers and investors, it enables us to think about strategies for the long term, and that is a huge enabler for us to see through the strategies and avoid unnecessary work that happens from quarter to quarter.
I think that's a $1 million answer because that summarizes very well why have you not chosen to move out, right, and stay in this role for 7 years because you love the ecosystem. I mean, what we are geared towards, passionate towards, Anand, is actually people helping people. And because of the fact that you don't need to report to the street and just think about wellness or welfare of members, that I think that's one of the cornerstones because of which you want to continue doing this role. of impacting lives around you. I think that's a very important reason. We had conversations at length earlier, but I think this is really very apt, right? Anand, following question, right? I mean, I know that you're a CFO, but not a traditional CFO who just talks about finance. You had a huge career setting up analytics practices, analytics teams at multiple places. And also, you were one of the pioneers of setting up one of the earliest analytics teams in the credit union ecosystem. You've just built this team yourself. So, what is your current role right now? What are the different things you oversee? What are the different functions you oversee? If you just want to talk about that.
Absolutely. I currently have a finance function, consumer insights and analytics, um, strategy, strategy and M&A, and finally product management. But when I started off at Citadel, I started off overseeing finance and enterprise risk management. So I revamped the people, process, and technology infrastructure for finance function first, and also initiated and kicked off the journey for enterprise risk management function to be set up. About a year or so ago, um, I've handed over the risk function to a newly created function of a CRO, and then inherited or taken over the other three, the strategy, analytics, and product management. So within a few of the things that you mentioned, you mentioned strategy, you mentioned analytics. The analytics function is a very good journey. About 7 years or so when I started here, I started off with a creation of value-based segmentation for our membership to understand where value lies. And what could have been a 6 weeks exercise at any other large company, it took over 6 months. And that was the starting point. That was the eye opener to realize that we not only had difficulty in gathering data, but we also didn't have a lot of data. So that started a journey. We undertook that journey in a very planned and collaborative fashion. At the time, the function of building I guess the layers started off with the IT layer of building our data lake. We called it Unified Data Platform and built it at scale on Azure. And the other layers included just having the data layer, a unified data layer that consolidated all of the disparate data systems into live updates, and then reporting that was sitting on top of that. We also then more recently put in profitability data at a member level, at a product level, into the same UDP. So now we have this single source of truth that we can rely on a live basis. And then the next layer, of course, is to have the value added modeling, the data science piece, where we're now putting on propensity models, we're putting personalization. And the beauty of all this is that this infrastructure enables us to propagate consistent member and employee experience at scale.
Absolutely. I think, you just talked about how does a successful credit union look like when you set up data analytics function from scratch? And because it's very debatable, questionable, and 50% of the conversations I have with credit unions or with other partners, people talk about AI without missing the basic mark of necessity of good, clean data. And that can only be done by what you've done at UDP. That's one. And second, tying your business goals to how can data can help. You just cannot use AI, quote unquote, in silos, in multiple functions, and just expect magic to happen, right? I think that's a very huge misconception that's there, and people still don't understand that. I think that's a separate episode which we should do, Anand. It's like debunking AI. Right? Let's talk data. Let's talk analytics. Let's talk data science. Let's talk impacts. I mean, AI can wait. I'm not a naysayer to AI. Absolutely, we need LLMs, but are we there yet to use LLMs for consumer servicing, for everyday decisioning? Possibly yes, possibly no. Right? That's a debatable question. So I think that's very well put on and about a structured approach, like right, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and now you're also pulling in profitability data of members. That's a very sophisticated way of looking at when you look at a member from a 360 view, right? That's an amazing thing which you're doing. This itself needs a separate topic of discussion, that what you're trying to do, share best practices with the world, what you've done. I think that will be really valuable for a lot of credit unions who want to set up this practice but don't have that capability or expertise to go and execute that. That's interesting. So Anand, I know you're responsible for new product development, and you are really excited, right? You're really excited, launching new products, looking how they perform, tweak it. So what's exciting at Citadel right now? What keeps you up?
The most exciting thing right now at Citadel is the newest product that we launched 3 weeks ago. We did a soft launch of a checking product.
Uh-huh.
And we all know that a checking product is a commodity product. Everybody tries to make it attractive, but we all know that there is always a debate about margin versus mission, and that trade-off does not always produce a good outcome. So we set out to launch a product with a multitude of objectives. And we, after some consumer research, we've called it the ultimate growth checking product. Um, and that aligns with our brand tagline of building strength together. So it's a tiered checking account that grows with member needs. It has no servicing fees. It has ultimate rewards and benefits. For example, up to 2.75% cash back on credit cards, high yield savings boost, a checking yield, free wire transfers, free ATM withdrawals, and a bunch of other things. But the starting point was when we stopped and asked ourselves the one big question: how can we add more value for our members through the core banking relationship? Because I don't want to go too deep into the strategy and the vision and the mission, but the starting point was all of that. But in this case, if we say we want to offer more value while not breaking our own P&L and L and having this win-win, no trade-off between margin and mission kind of an outcome, where even a runaway success should be celebrated, we came up with the following design tenets, objectives. And the first one was that we want to increase relationship value through rewards across multiple products that we offer. Um, we all know that ideally we would want to have a relationship with one financial institution if they are satisfying our financial needs. So we want to have that as a design objective. The second was um, we see so many of these examples around us where a financial institution will offer 4 different checking accounts, where they start off with this no requirement, no fringe kind of a free checking account, and then there are graduated accounts that offer more and more value, but you have to jump through more and more hoops to get the values that they're offering. So we said we don't want to have that hassle, and we want to have a product that is stretchable, that stretches through members' life stages. So they don't have to think about going from one to the other and what's the right product for me. Um, and then the last one was the no trade-off between margin and mission. So we want a win-win for us as Citadel, as the organization, as well as for the members. So when we looked at all of those objectives, we realized that we can create a single product with tiers. And so that's what we ended up doing. But the design and implementation of that product was completely new. And what I mean by that is this isn't just a product launch. This is a revamp of both the member facing experience as well as a revamp of the backend or the Citadel interaction model and capabilities. Uh, for the design process of this product, I'd say we started off with the member journey mapping, consumer research at multiple different levels which at the very end even included conjoint analysis to horse race among the multiple different features. Should I dial this up or down? Um, and then, qualitative, quantitative, all kinds of research combined with financial feasibility, compliance, the tech capabilities. The usual issue is also, we have so many disparate systems bolted together. Will it all work together? Can we do it in-house? Do we need a complete revamp? Um, and then there is, of course, the biggest thing I say that is an enabler to success is execution. And by execution, I not only am referring to setting up the training function for retail, but also the ongoing blocking and tackling. Like I've had a daily and a weekly catch up on progress. We did a employee pilot, and then we did a soft launch, and then we will do a full hard launch with all the covering fire from marketing. But it is that every employee first is activated by building buy-in, um, and then they are given the tools. So we have calculators that help our own employees show the value to members. And then we aligned incentives. So retail staff incentives along with the objectives. So this is sort of an orchestra. It's an orchestra that is practiced and it is continuously improved. So that's what's producing, even within the soft launch after 3 weeks, we've had over 2,300 accounts and it's just growing. We haven't even started marketing yet. So, and the best part is all of the positive member reviews and comments we're getting that how Citadel is proactively looking out for them, how we are improving value on an ongoing basis, and how this product is an enabler for their well-being. All that creates this flywheel that then goes back into our members' well-being, feeding our employees' morale, and then that feeding back into making better experiences, better products. And the best of all is, if this is a runaway success, uh, there is nobody here to say, "Oh wow, stop it! We're losing money or anything." This is a win-win all throughout. So that's exciting.
That dovetails very well into the overall mission, right? Talking about that, I mean, I was just reading Ron Shevlin's report, what's going on in banking, right? So just talking to Ron on that. One of the, I mean, the number one priority for credit unions this year is membership growth. I think followed by expense reduction, and third is deposit gathering. So what you're doing right now, Anand, this is so well aligned to what the ecosystem is wanting or needing right now is membership growth. And definitely with this sexier checking account, for that lack of better words, which grows for the matter of fact as per requirement from a member. So this will really serve well, I think, in the geographies you operate, in the field of membership you have, right? So this is really a well timed, I would say, product launch that you have, and I wish you all the best for the launch. I know you put a lot of effort on that, a lot of night oil, but I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe you can have the product too.
Absolutely. I mean, a very similar conversation I remember with Sumit, right? So I told Sumit, if the experience of Alliant is really sexy, why don't I just become a member of Alliant? Sumit was like, aren't you already a member of Alliant? I'm like, not now already, right? I should become. So let me become a member and I'll give you my feedback. So I can do that, Anand. I can become a member and then let you know how it works. More than happy. Absolutely. Now, I would say expanding on the question, right? I mean, you talked about what you do, but what are the other things you're focused on? I mean, you got a bunch of other charters that you do. You want to talk about a few other things that you do at Citadel?
Yeah. So strategy is another function that we have in the past year elevated. Um, and I oversee strategy. the biggest thing I say, or the reason why strategy is a worthy function to elevate, and also to have an integration of strategy oversight with finance, product, and analytics, they all live together very synergistically, from my own experience here, because the actual knowledge of finance and consumer insight helps design the overall strategy. And so then brand new way of designing the strategic planning process, and also activating it. So that's an exciting thing. The first change with it is, most people generally start the strategic planning with a survey, which we also did, survey of the board, survey of the leadership team, looking at a 360-degree view, so inside out, outside in. And at the same time, then we created a series of brainstorming sessions with the leadership team to introspect on what is our license to exist, what is our reason to exist, what have been our successes, what are our core capabilities, where do we want our capability build out to go, where do we want to invest and prioritize. So all of the general questions that you usually want to ask, but forcing the conversation with the leadership team, forcing the prioritization of investments, and in building out the people, process, and technology capabilities, which then led to designing themes. So our strategy, it has three pillars of growth outcomes. And then there is this foundational element, which is a growth enabler for those outcomes. So the foundational elements has to be there as we continue to build capabilities. And the three outcomes may change over time, but the capability build out, which is a growth enabler, a scaling effect, that should always be a consistent input. So that's how we have our current strategy. But the second half of it, which is the activation of the strategy, is, I would say, even more important. And by activation, I mean implementing it, making it real. We've all heard about, culture eats strategy, but to make the strategy into the day-to-day culture is the real test. And so we did multiple layers of campaigns, I'm going to call it, starting with leadership team, the top 20%, followed by all employees across the organization, to have that shared level of awareness and shared ownership. So the ownership isn't only about knowing what individuals are supposed to do, but it is also to acknowledge and be aware of how their role and their deliverables align with their upstream and downstream partners, such that we are all rowing in the direction that we need to be. So that activation across the organization, that's the key part of it. And we just finished doing that, and then we're going to have a regular cadence of having status updates, continuing to build morale, momentum. So that's another exciting part of, not only, this isn't only about a point in time thing. The excitement is that there is a visibility of momentum, there is a visibility of a trajectory, of upward momentum. So a lot of exciting things happening here, and that's just, we've only talked about product and strategy. We talked a little bit about analytics. There's also a lot happening in the core finance function too.
Yeah, and I think, just a single episode isn't enough to talk about or to complete or to do a justice to what you're doing over there. This requires a broader conversation. Might be just follow up one live episode, maybe at FinTech Meetup or at GAZ, talking more about maybe, or deep diving more about what you're doing out there. Absolutely, Anand. So that's very well taken. I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, right? So I want to ask one burning question that I had. Since I'm a data scientist, so again, we mingle really well on that topic. So how are you using data as a value addition to the credit union and to drive impact across the board? Because again, data is at times a good to have thing which people don't really use, and I get so frustrated. Data has real impact, and both of us agree to it, right? So, do you want to talk about how is data adding value to the credit union?
Yeah, that's a very standard question that I get, and not only from the team here, but also from the board, because it is we hear about it every day, and we hear about how that is affecting the equity market. So if it's a rocket that's taking off, why are we not on it? Um, and it's very natural, and it makes sense to ask ourselves the question. And there are a lot of reasons for us to be on the bandwagon. But the way I look at it is that it's important to look at it from a foundational element up, to build a strong foundation so that we can reap the benefits of a strong and sturdy ongoing value. There's also the element of starting with a question in mind, or starting with a use case and building towards a use case, rather than look at all of the potential shiny objects out there. Because I get emails every day from providers of so many different services related to AI. Some of them are not even AI ML related, but they're just labeling it. So it's there's so much noise out there that it's very important to sort of narrow in on what are we really trying to solve, the problems we're trying to solve, and AI is merely a tool. So that's the way I think we should remind ourselves. And so examples of our own approach, um, let's say the one tool that we use for AI is for um, chatbots, voice bots, internal knowledge management, and even the site search. So we said that there's a lot of opportunity for us to automate some repetitive but simple questions that we get on the website chat or even on the phone. So we have implemented an AI-based model. We partner with Posh, where we've had tremendous success in automating the chat channel as well as the voice channel, and we've also had significant lift in the value provided by our phone associates, so member care, because we now have implemented a knowledge base, AI based response to our existing knowledge base, that they don't have to sift through 400 pages of data and information, but it sort of summarizes it up. So there are those specific use cases, and we use a specific tool. Then we have specific use cases to build propensity models. And so we partner with Data Robot to build some of those ML and AI based modeling. But you said this earlier. This is all enabled only because we built the whole structure from foundation up. And so we also kept that in mind when we were looking at use cases. We were using use cases to load specific sets of data into the UDP, to build specific querying, to build specific data discipline, rather than dumping data into the UDP.
Yes.
Um, so it's a very disciplined approach, and I feel like we've just only now begun, and begun because not only on the topmost layer of data science, but we've only also started to begin to monetize even the simplest of the MIS layer. So the information that can build insight through the Tableau dashboards that we're building and using on a daily basis. So I can't even say that we have maybe done 25% of the value only so far. So we have a lot more value to harvest, even from the base layer of MIS reporting based on the data.
So this is an amazing short 30 minutes show. I would say, Anand, this was thank you again for sharing your journey, sharing your 2 cents and detailed, I would say, vision about what you're doing right now, how to use data AI for getting the movement going, making it more personalized, as well as the most important component in the discussion, which I took out, was your knowledge that you need to have step-by-step approach towards setting up an analytics function. You cannot do it in a day. It's not buying a shiny fancy object from the ecosystem and putting it over there and expecting a magic to happen, right? So Anand, again, thank you. I appreciate this time with us. Thank you. So thank you again for this time.
Thank you, Anurag, and thanks for continuing this mission of people helping people.
Absolutely. Thank you.